The energy here in the state college compared to, say, Columbus or, say, Florida State or a school like that?
You picked two where where they've been really accustomed to the showing up, particularly I think Columbus, and while we're always treated extraordinarily well by the football staff, the administration, I would say that the crowd there is kind of accustomed to game day showing up and therefore might not be as energetic as the Penn State crowd was last year. So I had a tough time ranking recently in my 4 years on the show the best spots. And Penn State #2 behind Virginia Tech. It could have been #1 easily. Miami's in there. But this has been as good an environment for the show as we've had since I've been here, and I'm hoping that we'll have a sea of white out here on Old Main Lawn on Saturday morning, and people excited and look forward to a great college football game and hopefully a fun show.
Compare an atmosphere, since you do college game day for basketball, so compare an atmosphere that you'll see here tomorrow and tomorrow night.
I mean, there's such different animals between football and basketball. This is as intense an atmosphere in whiteout, and we were here for the whiteout against Michigan last year. I would say that it rivaled, a Carolina-Duke basketball game, Kansas just about any time in a big game. But football is just so much more. There are more people, so in some ways it's more overwhelming. But at the same time, I feel like that maybe basketball crowds, because of the intimacy, sometimes affect play a little bit more, if that makes sense. So it's hard to compare them, but in terms of just the spectacle and the enjoyment of the big scene, I would say it rivals Duke, Carolina, or a Kansas crowd.
Rece, from the 2016 Ohio State game to now, where have you seen Trace McSorley grow the most, and then how impressive have you been with Miles Sanders in particular?
Well, everybody knew Sanders was a really good back first. I mean, now those are sizable shoes to fill with one of the all-time greats here, Saquon Barkley. But Sanders has been terrific up to this point, and the numbers aren't appreciably down, from what Saquon had. And I think that as far as McSorley goes, I think you just have seen a growth in confidence. He's the ultimate gamer. He's got that little edge and bravado and swagger to him. And even if the numbers up to a certain point in the game, completion percentage or whatever, might not be exactly what he would hope, when the time comes for a clutch drive, who would you rather have than him? I was looking last night at some stats, because I'm a little bit of a nerd, about his QBR on third down. And it hasn't been as good this year as it has been in the past, but the sample size is still relatively small. I would take him on third down, making the throw or scrambling for the first down against just about anybody in the sport. I think he's one of those guys that has a knack for keeping the chains moving, keeping a drive alive, and keeping a game alive.
You spent a lot of time looking at this game. What do you see as the key or the deciding factor?
I think, to me, the biggest thing is, can Penn State control, even without Bosa, can Penn State control Ohio State's pass rush, which they still will have some? Will they be able to be a little bit balanced and run it? Because that hasn't been the most effective thing they've done against Ohio State last couple of years. And, in just the last 2 years, huge plays and special teams have been really important in the outcome of the game. Who can make the big play on special teams and do it at a clutch moment?
What do you think these teams are playing for?
Well, the last 2 years, winner has won the Big Ten, but hasn't gone to the playoffs. So I think you're playing for inside track for a playoff position, inside track for a spot in the Big Ten championship game. And if you look at our playoff predictor metric, and I know some people roll their eyes at that type of thing, but it's the math guys, it's proven pretty accurate. It is significant to both, but it's almost imperative for Penn State to win. Penn State's, recalling the numbers off the top of my head, I think their percentage of making the playoff drops right around 20%, maybe a little below. It's over 50 with a win. And Ohio State's drops also, but not as significantly. That's a product of schedule and what you have ahead and all of that type of thing. So I think that you're really playing to still have a little latitude the rest of the season for a slip up or a stumble. The loser won't have much room for error, either in making the Big Ten championship game or potentially a playoff spot.
The emergence of KJ Hamler, how do you feel that he will play a part in tomorrow's game?
He's made big plays for him all year. He's been the big play receiver that they've been looking for. Another weapon that they've added with some of the guys who left last year, and And look, Ohio State has a really skilled, fast, tough secondary. Being able to beat your man when you get man coverage, create some separation, give McSorley a target, it's huge. They've got to be able to throw the ball and get it down the field. You're not going to, I know, look, Ohio State's given up some chunk plays in the early going. I mean, even the game was out of hand. They give up some to Oregon State. Saw a 90-some-odd yard run against TCU. They've given up some chunk plays. It's not as if they've been invincible up to this point. But a locked-in, talented Ohio State defense, you're not likely to just, you know, bleed them to death with paper cuts. You're going to have to hit some big plays, and Hamler's the guy who can do that.
Have you seen new ice cream yet?
I have not, but my wife has joined me, and the whiteout ice cream is on the agenda. They didn't send it to my house this time. I'm a little hurt, but it's okay.
Rece, there's been a lot of talk over the past few weeks with Trace McSorley and the Heisman candidate. What do you think about that?
Depends on tonight, or depends on Saturday night. It, you know, I think, I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, I love being at Penn State. The two best quarterbacks I've seen this year are Tua Tagovailoa and Dwayne Haskins. Now, this is a different kind of test for Haskins, for sure. And I think whoever has a big game, whether it be Haskins or McSorley, leaps into the Heisman race if they have a big game. I'm not just talking win the game. If they have a big game, either of them is, you know, really establishes a position for the long run in terms of being a Heisman contender.
Two more guys. Broadcasting game day here last year.
I'm sorry, say it again.
What do you remember about broadcasting game day here last year, and what's the dynamic when you're broadcasting from the heart of campus?
I'm sorry, say that last part again. The dynamic.
You're in the heart of campus.
Oh, okay, I got you. The thing I remember about game day here last year is Lee Corso body surfing with the Lion. I mean, does it really get any better than that? I suggested at the time that we just run that on continuous loop for 3 hours and then say goodnight. But no, it was a lot of fun. The crowd was tremendous, and I think that any time you're in the heart of campus and people at home can see a genuine energy and enthusiasm, and maybe alums can see landmarks and things that were meaningful to them, it differentiates this sport and hopefully our show from anything else. And you know, that's what's great to us about being on campus. It's why we prefer it to most of the time, with some notable exceptions. Cotton Bowl's a notable exception. State Fair for Texas, Oklahoma. You know, some notable exceptions to neutral site games. But campus is sort of the heartbeat. It's part of the DNA of college football. And it's what makes our show special.
Last one.
Why do you think James Franklin has been able to make it work not only at Vanderbilt but also here?
He's a really good coach, and I know people were doubting that, about 2 years ago this time, before the rally against Minnesota and before the comeback victory against Ohio State. The guy's a winner. He's a great recruiter. He's relentless with his enthusiasm, and he's been able to get guys to believe and buy in, and he's been able to restore the Penn State brand, elevate the level of play to the level that Penn State is accustomed to. And there is an ethereal realm of coaches, I guess, guys who've won a national championship, and it's a very small number in our game right now. And Saban probably stands along with Urban in terms of being at the top. But there are challengers and guys who are growing in their careers and have the opportunity and the potential to reach that level, and I think James is one of those guys.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys.
Appreciate
Thank you very
it.
much. Have a good day. Thank you.